Yesterday, we were 23 days away from the midterms. Tomorrow, it'll be 21. Today's 22. You see where I'm going with this. It's coming up, Lilia.
I think it's coming up quickly. And this election is a big one. This could actually change the balance of power of the United States government. While control over the Senate is still a toss-up, our latest CBS News Battleground tracker is estimating Republicans will take over the House.
According to our latest polling, Republicans will win 224 seats, while Democrats will hold 211. CBS News Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto, is going to explain to us now how the economy is hurting Democrats' chances and driving voters to the polls.
One of the things we try to explore in this is, what do people mean when they say the economy? And a lot of times it's just what you're feeling and if you're feeling a pinch. So look at how these numbers moved on gas prices. In August, when prices were coming down, we had a majority saying they felt like they were coming down. OK, but, and this is a side point, here's how polls can be responsive. Now you get a majority who say, OK, well, prices are going up. And they're going up in their area, and that's happening all over the country. So people are feeling more of that pinch just from what they observe. The other part of this is I try to understand how people connect this to politics. Like, okay, here's a phenomena going on. Who do you blame for it? So what turns out is I ask, okay, what's happened with regard to Democratic policies? And you do get, on balance, people feeling like they've harmed the economy more than help, which is interesting because part of this is reasoning back from results. Yep, they're in power. I'm feeling a pinch. Okay, it must have harmed. So that's part of the dynamic. And then the other part is expectations. Like, they feel like the Biden administration could be doing more, even if it's not the only thing they think is responsible.
CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang joins us now. Weijia, we just heard Anthony Salvanto explain how voters are blaming the economy and the state of the economy on the Biden administration. That, of course, can significantly hurt the Democratic Party. What's the administration have to do or planning to do to flip the script?
So President Biden has long said that one thing he thinks the administration does not do enough is to stress victories and to really take a round of applause that they believe they are owed, that sometimes that he says they are too humble about. And so I think that's what we are seeing right now. He is traveling instead of having, huge campaign rallies. We're seeing him hold events to remind people of all the accomplishments that he has already been able to check off. For example, the American Rescue Plan, of course, most recently, the Inflation Reduction Act. He wants people to know that, these are the things that I've already done to help the economy. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we're doing everything we can. Of course, when it comes to people actually paying their bills and feeling the effects, that's very different, which is why Dems are struggling right now, because as the president has himself said many times, the buck stops at him. So I think right now they're trying to keep the focus on all the steps that they have already done to try to help Americans who are really struggling. But whether that's going to translate enough, yet to be seen.
Weijia, politicians are people too, and President Biden has been on the campaign trail for some candidates, but other candidates have said, you know what, Mr. President, we got it. Don't worry about it. Stay in Washington. And one of those candidates is Ohio Democratic candidate Tim Ryan. How is the White House handling this hesitation from some Democrats to have the president come out and grace the same stage as them?
They're not really addressing it head on. Instead, again, they're trying to focus on, making it easier for Dems to be aligned with President Biden. And I think right now that is a tricky lane to navigate, right? Because there is so much unhappiness with the current state of the economy. But the White House, continues to try to say that the president will do as much as he can to bring down these prices for people. But, it's tough because the reality is there's only so much that President Biden can do at this point, especially if we're talking in political terms, to bring the prices down before November 8th. And so, that's why we're seeing candidates who don't want to embrace him so fully, that they would be doing if things were going great with the economy.
And I mean, in some races, it makes sense. I mean, Tim Ryan is positioning himself as more of a centrist, but in others, I mean, it should help to have the president with you on the campaign trail. How much should we expect to see him over the next 22 days actively on the trail?
Yeah, I think we should expect to see him quite a bit, and perhaps they won't be, explicitly campaign events. They might be events where, again, he is promoting the work that he has already done. But you're right. In other cases, candidates are, happy to have him by their side. For example, this week, Steve Fetterman in Pennsylvania in the Senate race is holding an event, a fundraising event with the president, and he has been one of really the most vocal in embracing that support from the president in aligning himself with him, because he is, after all, the leader of the Democratic Party. So we do expect the president to be out. We don't know his exact stumping schedule. The White House is very, careful about revealing too much, but certainly he will be busy in the coming weeks.
All right, and you will be as well. Weijia Jiang for us. Weijia, thank you very much.
Sure.